Hello and welcome to our first Dreamweaver website design project. In this series you'll learn how to build a complete website from start to finish using Dreamweaver CS6. You can use your own images and resources for this project, or if you prefer you can download all of the project files shown in these tutorials. You can also get the complete series manual in printed or ebook format along with the high definition video tutorials from wizibooks.com. In our last lesson, we entered the content that will eventually appear as boxes at the bottom of our index page. And in this lesson, we'll format them so that the boxes actually appear. So we'll switch over to Dreamweaver, and I've opened up the index.html page and I've arranged my workspace in split view. I'm also looking at the CSS code and not the HTML. So my cursor's just underneath the footer section, and I'm going to put a new section in here for formatting boxes. So we'll type in boxes and give ourselves a little bit of space. So if you remember, the content went inside the box divs. So we need a selector that will target the boxes. And we'll include the opening and closing curly brackets. And as we're going to be putting a few lines of code in here, I'm just going to come down and enter them line by line. So the first thing I want to do is to set the width of the box, and the width is going to be 261 pixels. So width 261 px. And if we come across and click in our preview window, you'll see now that the content is restrained within this 261 pixel width box. Next, what we'll do is we'll add a bit of background color so that we can actually see the boxes take shape. So we'll come back into our CSS and we'll say background color, and that's going to be the dark grey that we've used in other areas of this web page. So that's #333. And again we'll come across and click, and you'll see that that background has been applied. All of the boxes at the moment are squashed right up next to each other, so we want a little bit of margin as well. So back to our CSS, and we'll make the top and bottom margins 15 pixels, and left and right we'll put 10 pixels in for that. So margin 15 top and bottom, and 10 left and right. And let's come across and click, and you'll see now that there's a little bit of space actually between our boxes. Now our text and images are squashed right up close to the edge of these boxes, so we're going to need a little bit of padding. So that's our next line of code, padding, and we'll put 5 pixels all the way around. Come across and click, and you'll see now that we've got that 5 pixel padding applied all the way around. Okay, let's start working on the borders. So again, back to the CSS, and all of our borders are going to be different, so we're going to apply them individually. So we'll start off with border top. And we want this to be 20 pixels, and it's going to be a red color, so #F00, and it's going to be solid. So we'll come across and have a look. When we click, our top border has been added. Okay, let's do the bottom border now. So we'll come down and we'll say border dash bottom, and this is going to be 10 pixels. Again, it's going to be that red color, and again it's solid. We'll come across and have a look at that, and there we go, we've got our 10 pixel red border at the bottom. We'll do the same for the left and right, and we'll make those 1 pixel wide, but the same color and again solid. So border dash left 1 pixel red solid, and border dash right 1 pixel red and solid. Now we'll come across and click, and you can see now that that red border has been placed around the entire box area. Now at the moment our boxes are stacked on top of each other, and we want to display these across the screen. So we'll apply a float to all of the boxes, and we'll just float them all to the left. So back into the CSS, and we'll type in float left. Come across and click, and you'll now see that those boxes have floated across to the left. Now let's save it at this point and preview in a browser. And we'll scroll down, and there we go, we've got our 3 boxes in line just the way we want them. However, the top border for our footer area has slipped up above the boxes, and that's because we floated these boxes. So in the footer area we're going to need to add some code to clear that float. So let's do that now. We'll go back to Dreamweaver, and we'll come up to the footer section in the CSS, and we'll just put clear both, and we'll save that, and we'll go back and preview. So here's how it looked before, and when we refresh, there you go, our footer top border has now been repositioned at the bottom of the page. Now one last thing we're going to do is we're going to round the corners off. So we're going to apply a radius to the corners of these boxes. Let's go into Dreamweaver, and again we'll come back down to the box section, and we'll create a new line, and in here we'll type in border dash radius, and we'll make that 10 pixels. And when we come across into the preview this time, we don't actually see anything happen here. So let's go and try the preview. We'll save this to start with, and we'll press F12 and scroll down, and now you can see that that border has got the radius on there. Now not all browsers support this feature, but many of the common ones do. And just to make sure that we're as compatible as we can be with most browsers, we're going to add a couple of extra lines of code underneath this border radius entry here. So we'll come underneath that, and we need to use a couple of extensions. So I'm going to start with a dash, and I'm going to choose Moz, and the code for that is border dash radius, and again we'll make that 10 pixels. One more, we'll use WebKit this time. This is a different extension. So we'll start with a dash and WebKit, and again it's border dash radius, and we'll apply 10 pixels to this one also. And with these 3 lines of code, that will cover most browsers, and our boxes will display with that border radius. So let's save that one and just have a quick preview, refresh that, and that's our boxes almost complete. We just need to center up this image. We've got a little bit more space on the right here than we've got on the left, and I'd like to get that image in the center of the box. So let's go back to Dreamweaver, and in the CSS we're going to need a new rule. So we'll come down underneath this box selector, and we want to target the images inside these boxes. So we'll create a selector called box space img, and again we'll use the curly brackets, come back inside those. And what we want to do is to display these images as a block. So we'll say display and block. And now that they're displayed as block, we can set the margins. And if you remember, to center up an element, we type in margin 0 top and bottom and auto left and right. And hopefully our images will then jump into the center. Let's save that and preview in the browser. And there you go, our images are now centered within the boxes. Our images though are still quite squashed in between these two text entries. So I'm going to put a little bit of padding above and below each of these images just to space them out slightly. So we'll go back to Dreamweaver, and again in the box image selector we'll type in padding and we'll give that 5 pixels. We'll save that and come back to the browser to preview. So this is how it looks before that padding's added, and when we refresh you'll see that it's given us that little bit of extra space there now. So that's our index page complete. And in the next lesson we'll start working on the content for our about page. If you found this series of videos helpful and you want to receive updates on video tutorials as they're released, why not subscribe to my channel? And don't forget to like and share it with your friends.